Live from the House of LeMay Makeup and Dressing Room.
Here comes Amber, stop what you're doing. Here comes Amber, she's just doing what she can. Here comes Amber, cue the spotlight. Here comes Amber with 2 drinks in her hand. The matriarch of fashion from sequins to her glasses, you can't look away. Ask her, does she do it? There's really nothing to it. She's got that feminine gaze. If you have a party, or if you're feeling naughty, call up the House of LeMay. Here comes your favorite gal. Here comes your queen. Here comes the talk of the town. It's Amber Live tonight. The music starts playing. It's time for cabareting on Amber Live tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn off all cell phones and get ready for your host, Amber LeMay.
Hello there, hello there, hello there. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday evening. But first, you know what to do. I want you to like what you're watching. I want you to share what you're watching. And I want you to subscribe to the AmberLive.tv channel as well. So you're going to know everything that's coming up. But thank you for choosing to spend your Sunday evening with me and my wonderful guests. But you know what? It's Sunday, so it's time for headlines. So, Caitlyn Jenner, whose preferred pronouns are me, and me, has decided she's bored with being a failed reality TV star and has moved on to enter the world of politics. Where have we heard this song before? Yes, she believes her life experiences has led her to the governor's mansion of California. Speaking from her personal plane's hangar, she told Sean Hannity that her friends are fleeing California because of homeless people. The guy right across, he was packing up his hangar and he says, I'm moving to Sedona, Arizona. I can't take it anymore. I can't walk down the streets and see the homeless. Mm-hmm. In an interview with CNN, she was asked how she voted in 2020. Her response? It was voting day, and I thought the only thing out there in California that I worry about, which affects people, is the propositions. And I didn't see any propositions that I really had one side or the other. And so it was election day, and I just couldn't get excited about it. So she said she went golfing. Now, some of the propositions on the ballot included those involving rent control, property taxes, affirmative action, and criminal justice reform. Yeah, why would a future governor care about those? But wait, there's more. According to public records from the Los Angeles County Registrar Record, she did cast a ballot. Why lie, Caitlyn? Why lie? Jenner has also stated her position on the controversial laws passed in over 30 states banning high school transgender athletes competing on their gender identity. Her not-so-wide stance on the issue may surprise you. I quote, this is a question of fairness. That's why I oppose biological boys who are trans competing in girls' sports in schools. It just isn't fair. And we have to protect girls' sports in our schools. Yeah, okay. However, as a true do-as-I-say, not what I do Republican, Jenner is known to have played in women's golf tournaments. Yeah. Now that takes balls. A new panic, a new season of hoarders. Remember last year's COVID-induced toilet paper shortage brought on by the irrational fear that the virus caused chronic, terminal, explosive diarrhea? Well, they're back because blah, 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 colonial pipeline, blah, 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 ransomware, blah, blah, blah. The Consumer Product Safety Commission has to issue a warning saying, do not fill plastic bags with gasoline. But it wasn't just plastic bags. No, yeah, there's one. It was anything, not just plastic bags. It was old lidless oil barrels, or duct tape jugs, or even jugs that cost more than any possible saving in gas. What could go wrong? Well, if you're driving a Hummer in Florida, this. The Florida State Fire Marshal is investigating the fire. An official cause for the inferno is not yet available. Although the pictures and description of the situation suggest that the 20 gallons of gasoline in the back of the SUV is at a minimum contributing factor for the Hummer being engulfed in flames. Or if you're in South Carolina, you have this, where a woman was trying to outrun a Pickens County Sheriff's deputy when the stolen car she was driving crashed, rolled over, and exploded. The driver was pulled from the car in flames, and before leaving the scene in an ambulance, she told deputies that she had several containers of fuel in the trunk. Those explosions remind me of my 1974 Ford Pinto. Oh, I love that car. I really did. And finally, in another episode of You Get What You Vote For, Robert Beavers, that's his name, the incumbent mayor of War, West Virginia, defeated challenger Grover Mahone on Tuesday by a vote of 123-40. The win came 2 days after Beavers, 67 years old, 67? Oh my, was arrested on charges, including possession of a controlled substance and driving under the influence. Beavers had failed to yield to stopped emergency vehicles and proceeded to fail several standardized field sobriety tests. 123-40? Hey, maybe I have a future in politics after all, at least in West Virginia. And that's this week's headlines. All right, those were the headlines. So now let's find out from Russell what's going on.
Hey, Amber, how are you?
I'm doing great, Russell. How was the weather today in New York City?
It was absolutely lovely all afternoon. I had a wonderful lunch with a couple of old friends that I haven't seen in a year. I saw her once in the last year, and the other one I saw over 2 years ago. And they came into town, and we all got together and had a nice outside dining experience. So it was and just beautiful out.
Oh, it was a beautiful
74.
day in Burlington. It was beautiful here in Burlington too. The sun shining, a beautiful blue sky. The lake was nice and calm. It was just a beautiful, perfect day. And yesterday was great too. So that makes us feel good too, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, I got to see people smiling. That was fun too. Now they're all saying, "Oh God, I wish I'd gone to the dentist."
Yeah, I started that journey again recently. Now that I'm fully vaccinated,
yeah,
off to the dentist.
There's a lot of things that people had to catch up on, that's for sure. All right. So, Russell, we got some new viewers tonight. So I know some are watching on Facebook, on other venues. What's the best way to watch Amber Live?
Well, the best way to watch Amber Live is always on YouTube. And that's because YouTube is at full HD. And there is our YouTube channel. If you aren't there, if you want to switch over, you can just go to youtube.com/AmberLive. It's easy to find, and the live show's running there. And you can watch us in full HD there. You can watch us on Facebook or Twitch or Twitter if you'd like, but we do recommend that you go over to YouTube. And while you're at YouTube, if you would subscribe and like the channel, and also there's a bell there that's a notification button, and you can find out whenever we're going live, so you can keep up with us on those random other times we appear on the interwaves.
Yeah, like every Wednesday night, we've been having for the past 20 weeks on Wednesday from like 8:15 to 9:15, we've been having Amber Chat. And it's just Russell and I, we get on, we start talking, and then other people chime in with their comments, or some people get on camera. And this week, we had our friend Mike come on, and he was telling about his hernia that he received while he was in the Peace Corps over, where was he?
I forget where he did it. He's been in so many countries, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, but it was
Maybe
funny how he
Jack
was
knows.
flown back from the that country to the United States have his hernia repaired. But how he got the hernia was very funny, and he said it live on Amber Chat. So you never know what we're going to talk about. We had Big J come on as usual, and Jack came on, and it was just fun, just chatting about whatever's happening in the day and what we had for lunch.
I saw that one of our past guests, Bianca, just commented that she'd like to be on. And on Wednesday nights, Bianca, if you want to come on any Wednesday night, you are welcome to join us. So that's our night for random people popping in and saying hi. So
yes, I'd
we're
love to hear about
do it.
Yeah, she was on a couple of weeks ago with the imposter syndrome. We talked about that, but she's been to Disney World Disneyland several times since then. So I'd love to hear about her experiences in Disneyland. So Wednesday night, 8:15, come on and watch Amber Chat or be a part of it. That's going to be fun. All right, so Russell, take over for your favorite part of the show.
Yes, it's time to talk about the Bustiers, our favorite people out there who have helped support Amber Live, and we do want to say thank you to all of them. We highly appreciate their support. If you'd like to be a Bustier, you can use Venmo at RJD Pro to send us a tip and send us your support. And any amount is helpful and helps keep us running. If you send $25 or more, we can give you the Amber Live sticker. If you send $100 or more, you get a sticker and a magnet. And for $200 or more, a sticker, a magnet, and a mug. And we will send all those to you. And you can see that whole list of Bustiers there. Everybody who's helped us out are super Bustiers and all the others. And we really, really do appreciate you guys. You are the big reason we've managed to make it this whole year. It's been a long one. Actually, more than a year now. 61
our 61st weeks. Sunday night, our 61st. Looking at that list, I see where Jason Lamont had a birthday this week. Yeah, so Jason, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yes. So glad to have you on board. So what's our caption picture this week?
Our caption photo for the week. If you would like to send a funny or caption in for the photo I'm about to show, please label it as a caption and put it in the comments. And at the end of the show, we will look at the funniest ones. Jack will bring them up and talk about them. So if you've got a funny comment about that photo, send it on into Jack in the comments.
Is that Prince Harry?
I don't think so.
Look like it. All right. So who do we have coming up on the show tonight?
We have a great show tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun and very educational, I think. First up, we have Elliott Robinson coming on, who's going to talk with you all about Jim Crow and Jim Crow laws, where they came from, and how it's affecting the country today. And I'm sure you'll have lots of questions. And then after that, we also have Ray Lewis, who is a old friend of Rocco's, who has moved away from Rocco like so many people. But he's now in Vermont, and he has a Square Deal Farm, which makes maple syrup. So we're going to learn all about the maple syrup industry. So Rocco says, I've been drunk for almost 2 years. Am I on this show? Yes, Rocco, you will be later.
We wonder. All right, Russell, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great show.
Yes. So as you can see, there's a lot of things going on tonight in Amber Live. So hello there. All right, so our first guest, let's just bring him on, and he can tell us what's going on. So please welcome Elliott Robinson. Elliott, come on in. Hello there, sir.
Hey, good evening. How are you?
All right. Okay. Now, I'm just an ignorant drag queen. Okay. So you've got a bunch of letters after your name, and you got a bunch of fancy diplomas behind you. What does that all mean?
Well, The JD just means that I'm a graduate of Howard Law School, and the MDiv, I got my Master of Divinity from Emory University.
All right, glad. So, a lawyer and a minister. Would you classify as a minister?
Yes, that's accurate. Yes.
Oh, very good. Very. See, I've got all my diplomas behind me too, so we're on the same playing field tonight.
That's right.
All right. So, as Russell mentioned, you are an expert, or you like to talk about the Jim Crow laws and their effect on our country and society today. All right. Please educate me. I've heard of Jim Crow laws all my life, but I have no idea who or what was Jim Crow. Where did that come from?
Well, it's I guess it's not funny, but the origin of the actual term Jim Crow comes from an era when blackface and minstrel shows were really popular in the United States in the started by like around the 1820s. The father of Jim Crow as a what we would consider vaudeville, but at that time it was blackface or minstrel shows, was Thomas Dartmouth Rice. And the rumor or the legend has it, basically he was a regular performer. He saw two African American stable men outside of a performance hall in Louisville singing a song. And the song he ended up liking the song. He took the song and kind of tweaked it and turned it into a ditty, basically, about this character, Jim Crow. Well, what happened is he then took his show and then revolved it around really negative caricatures about the two men, but he would blacken his face and then do these, what we would now consider minstrel shows or minstrel ditties or minstrel acts during his show. And it became incredibly popular. And so what happened is that this caricature became attached to what would become Jim Crow laws that occurred later. And so that was like the predecessor of the laws was this Jim Crow caricature. And literally they were everywhere. I mean, and the crazy part is they were more popular in the North than they were in the South. And so
So the negative. So what type of laws are we talking about?
And so the Jim Crow laws that were created, they came after the end of the Civil War. And so you had a variety of different types of laws. So you had the more formal laws that we think about, things like basically where you can, like no black person can cut the hair of a white person. Blacks and whites can't be buried in the same cemetery. Obviously, people cannot be married if they're of different races. Blacks and whites could not frequent the same parks. They couldn't frequent the same beaches. And in many instances, blacks were not even allowed on beaches. Some of the ones that were just even more insane, for example, you had a law in Louisiana where blacks and whites at the schools of the blind had to be separated by race, even though they couldn't even see one another. Yeah, I mean, exactly. You know, it's just, it got to be that absurd. Blacks and whites couldn't play pool together because the idea was that you can't have any social interaction where you're being considered equal. But I think the thing that has carried over the most are the laws that had to do with what's called social etiquette. And so these are things that really take the strict, harsh laws, the hard line laws, and then turn them into human interaction. So, for example, a black person could never insinuate or assert that a white person was lying. You could never suggest that a white person is inferior in any way. You cannot claim or demonstrate having superior knowledge or intelligence. You couldn't curse at a white person. You could not laugh at a white person. You couldn't comment at the appearance of a white woman. And then also things like if a white person was approaching you on the street, you had to step off the curb. If you were already standing and someone was passing you, you had to hold your head down. If you were approaching someone and they were talking to you, you had to take your hat off and never look them in the eye. So these were all things that would further assert the idea that one was superior over the other. And so those are some of the vestiges that we deal with today. And so, so those are some of the vestiges. More the social etiquette is what has continued on today, as opposed to those hard and fast laws that we see.
All right. So I don't know how old you are, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. And I'm
Okay.
51, so I'm proud of my age.
I'm
I
so
share
glad-
it now. Yeah, once you get over 50, you don't care what anybody else thinks anymore. So yeah, I'm
No,
51.
no. So growing up, did you feel any of those pressures or?
Absolutely. In New York, it's funny. Well, not funny, haha, funny, but funny, irony funny. When you think of New York, especially when I was the era I grew up in, they were still touting America as the great American melting pot. Like that was still a thing. We were proud of it as a country. You come over here, it's great, blah, blah, blah. But we also had sundown towns in New York City. And so for those who don't know, sundown towns are just that. By sundown, if you're black, you better not let the sun set and you were still in that town. And so, for example, we had areas like Bay Ridge, Bensonhurst, maybe Marine Park too. But if you were black, you knew pretty much you don't want to be in those areas after dark, because it's like, well, what are you doing here? We need to make sure you get out of here and you understand that. Some of them you couldn't really go during the daytime either. And so, yes, you could definitely feel that. I went to Catholic school, and so elementary school, it wasn't bad. But when I went to high school, it was definitely there. This notion
And
that
you're
why are
talking
you
the 1970s, 1980s?
Yeah, the 80s. Yeah, in the 80s. Yeah, I went to high school from 83 to 87. So yeah. So it was still very much, there's still this why are you here? You shouldn't be here, even though I'm just as smart or smarter than my classmates, but it's just like you shouldn't be here. So you still have that superiority, inferiority aspect that you still have to deal with.
So what is your mission now? What are you doing with this knowledge and
Well,
experience?
I started a nonprofit called Creative Tension. And the purpose of Creative Tension is really to be able to share with individuals the history and the legacy of Jim Crow segregation. And one of the ways that we do that is through our podcast. And so we've done 2 seasons of the podcast where we look at different caricatures, we look at different times in history in order to be able to to create a bridge to show people, yes, this is what happened then, but then this is what we see now that helps us to understand better what happened then. The reason why I started doing the podcast, my uncle, who has since passed, we would ride from DC to New York together. And during that time, he would share stories. He was the funniest person around. And so he would share stories of growing up in Sumter, South Carolina, which is where my dad is from. And he would share these stories that my dad never shared. And so we're riding and he's telling me stories about, some of them are just like, this just cannot be true. Because at the time I had never heard of them. And at this point, I graduated college. I was in law school. So I was 22, 23, 24 years old. He's telling me stories of people who were caught dating. So a black kid would be caught dating a white girl. And this one in particular was a friend of his. And by the time the kid got home, a friend of the family said, your son has been caught with dating this white girl. He needs to get out of town before sunset, because if he doesn't, they're going to get him. And so an instance where that happened, where they had to get him out of town. My uncle knew another instance where a guy got into a fight. Teenagers, they get into a fight, a scuffle. The black kid won the fight. Unfortunately, it ended up being the police came to the mom's house and said, well, look, we know your son got into a fight with so-and-so. Don't worry. We're just going to make sure he gets on the bus. We don't want any problems going on. And she literally never heard from her son again. And so there are instances like that happened. My dad had another instance where that happened as well. A friend of his, again, dating a girl, white girl, got caught. They were able to get him out of town, but he could never return back to Sumter. So whenever he had a death in the family, whenever he had a wedding, the family of the girl would be sitting outside the church at every funeral. And so my dad said he thinks he never really returned to Sumter until he died and they buried him back at Sumter. And
Wow.
so this was like 50 years went by from the time that this happened. And they would just be there. If someone in his family died, they'd be at the funeral, sitting outside the church, waiting to see if he came back. So stories like that really sparked my interest, because I'm saying, well, why would you never tell me these stories? Like this is, and as I began to study and research, I realized that it's really a form of PTSD, and my parents' generation would pretty much say, we're just going to go forward. That's behind us. We're just going to go forward. We're just going to go forward. We're going to make the best with where things are going, and never talk about it and share with my generation, the Gen Xers. So the Gen Xers, a lot of us never knew what our parents really went through growing up during the Jim Crow era. And so it wasn't until I began to research it and to understand, like, wow, this is insane. One, but two, not sharing it, you're carrying this trauma. And so the fear of what they had seen and experienced, they would share with us in a different way, by warnings, by things telling us not to do, by, people say, oh, Black people don't do the talk. Yes, we do. Our parents share with us all these lists of rules and social etiquettes that they think will help us be safe. They never tell us why they were sharing it or what they learned growing up that made them feel the need to have to share it as harshly as they would share it with us, but they wouldn't give us the backstory. So we had no way to connect it to what their life was like. We only had the rule. My mother would say, now don't you be bringing no white girls home now. Don't you be dating no white girls, don't you do it. No, sir. And I would say, well, wow. Ma, this is, but they had seen and they knew what could happen. And my mother would always just say, you just have to, I know people are changed, but it was very hard for her, given what she had seen for the most formative years of her life, to believe that people could really change that much, that fully, that I would be safe. And I think the saddest thing is now they live in a world where it has come back. That mentality has become mainstream again.
Okay, I was going to ask, where are we? Have we progressed from that, or do you see a reversal?
I think it's a reckoning. And so I wouldn't say that it's a reversal. I think that it has mainstreamed that mentality. And I think people are being desensitized to their own humanity. And so, for example, whenever something bad happens, like we'll just use the instance where there is a police killing and it's videotaped. There's a concerted effort to desensitize people's empathy towards another person by saying, well, what did that person do? Well, what could have happened? Because the idea is then they must have deserved it, as opposed to this is a person, another human being, at least be allowed to feel empathy for that person. But there is a concerted effort to not allow others to feel that empathy. And I think that along with all the other things that are happening, yes, there is definitely a resurgence. There's a resurgence of dividing people. There's a resurgence of trying to keep that feeling of, well, we're better than they are, especially when you're talking about anti-immigrant language, even though most of the people who are pushing it are the children of immigrants or the grandchildren of immigrants, and so that's the part I think that is very disconcerting, because we are in some ways going back there. I think the other side is because we have more knowledge now, people have more awareness, a lot more people are wanting to understand. Well, why do I have a bias? Okay, well, what is it that I don't know that I thought I knew about this country? Because the era, we learn about the time period, but we don't learn about the era of Jim Crow. So we learn about the US history, that doesn't stop. When you're in school, you get it all. And then you go for African Americans' perspective, you go from slavery and then you go to civil rights, but you skip Jim Crow and you skip how, and as you're learning from things from about 1876 to 1995, there is a system in place that tells Blacks separate but equal. But we know it was not separate. It was separate, but it was not equal. But it was a systematic suppression and oppression of Blacks and Browns and immigrant groups, which people don't realize that as well. Italians were persecuted as well through Jim Crow. Initially, so were those who were Irish. They weren't through Jim Crow, but they were also oppressed. And so anyone who came in, obviously people who were from Asia, because you had different acts, specific acts, like limiting the number of people from different countries, like China and India, and then they were expelled, and that's why that's why the numbers are not as large as they should be, given how early they were immigrating into the United States, because at one point they were expelled from the United States. And then we know what happened with World War II. So So we have these periods, but we don't weave it together. You know, we kind of talk broadly America, but we don't want to look bad. But it happened.
Right.
So you have to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, you end up with the forces that we have now that want to tell you, well, slavery really wasn't that bad. And well, black people they've been free from slavery, you know, since 1867, 65, no, 1865 and the Civil War. But you're skipping 100 years where black folks couldn't do anything, they couldn't own much, and whatever they owned, you had the right to take at will. You know, I mean, the level of violence was just legendary, and the level of random violence. I suggest to people, you know, if you want to go to Duke University's website, they have a project called Behind the Veil, and Behind the Veil is an oral history project where they actually interviewed Jim Crow survivors, and it's sometimes it's a little hard to listen to. Some of them are great to listen to, but these are individuals who were interviewed about their experience during the Jim Crow era. And that's
so Elliott, you covered these stories in your podcast?
Yes, I have. In some of them, I actually have I have the audio archives that I weave into some of the episodes. So I absolutely do. Yes, I do have those in there.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Elliott. You've told me a lot, and I have to think about a lot of things. So thank you so much. We'll bring you back later on in the show. So hang on there, Elliott. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. Oh my. Fascinating. Thank you so much, Elliott, for sharing with us. All right. So last week we had our first episode of Rusty Peen, Thinking and Drinking. Well, he's back, and he's been thinking some more and drinking.
Thinking and drinking with Rusty Peen. Oh, and welcome to another edition of Thinking and Drinking with Rusty Peen. I'm Rusty Peen, president of the Guns and Alcohol Society. Our mission is to arm more drag queens, cause a loaded drag queen is a safe drag queen, don't you know? Here I are at the home office where I do some of my best drinking and therefore some of my best thinking. Got a can of champagne right here, just cracked it on open. Gonna do some thinking for you and tell you some of the deepest thoughts and crawling around inside Rusty's head, don't you know? Welcome to my office right here. It's real good, except that once I get settled in, can't get all my weed, so gotta make sure that I got real close at hand, dude. That's not thinking hard, that's thinking smart. So today we're gonna talk about how to keep kids out of the office when you're around. Just tell them that you're going to be taking a big dump, going to be a while, and they seem to leave you alone, don't you know? Sometimes I want to know where the internet starts and where it ends, but then I keep getting distracted by all the naked people on it. So the world may never know. You know, some places have rules against carrying an open container. That's why I carry this thing right here. You can just cover that up right there. You got yourself the road soda. There you go. Ain't so bad. Then you can just uncap it, take a drink whenever, and it prevents any kind of dust or bird shit getting into your beer. Oh yeah, it's good champagne. Real good. Good. You don't understand. Oh, let's do a shot of Fireball, don't you know? Oh yeah, here it is right here. Let's do some Fireball. You know who likes this shit? Lucibel. She got good taste. You know who don't like this? Jack. He hates this shit. But you know, there's no accounting for taste or nothing. Just don't never get him none of these things. Oh yeah, that's good shit right there. Uh-oh, time to refill the champagne. Where's the champagne bottle? Here it comes. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, another perfect pour right there. Dude, check that shit out, yeah? Oh yeah, dude, fucking nailed it. Dude, nailed it. Dude, this has been Rusty Peen with another edition of Thinking and Drinking with Rusty Peen. Back to you, Amber.
Thank you, Rusty. Oh, I do some of my best thinking in my bathtub too. Isn't that we got something in common? Oh, thinking and drinking, mostly drinking. Thank you, cousin Craig. Agree with that. All right, yeah, no fireball for Jack. He doesn't care for that. So, hey, Russell.
Hey!
Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you so much for finding Elliott and bringing him on the show. That was fascinating.
That was amazing. Oh, I was saying to Jack we could do a 2-hour episode with him, I think.
Oh, and if we got he and Francois Clemens on at the same time, we could just take a vacation. We could just let them talk.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to miss that show, though. So
that's for sure. Well, coming up, we got Ray Lewis, our maple syrup guy, and we got some Boog and Shug and Rocco. Rocco's going to be here as well.
Rocco,
So we still got some plenty of entertainment here on Amber Live tonight. So let's show that caption picture one more time.
Yes, if you've got a funny caption for this photo, send it in for Jack, and we'll bring them up at the end of the show and talk about them or laugh about them, hopefully.
Watch your elbow.
Yes, and then
yes.
Let's not forget our Boosty So thank you to everyone who supports us. If you'd like to help us out, you can use Venmo at RJD Pro, and we really do appreciate that. It covers some of the expenses. And no, we haven't spent any of it on Amber's vodka. That's all hers.
No, that's all mine. I write that off. No, if I would know how.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Hey, it's Lucy Bell. Have you visited the Amber Live store to get your own amazing Amber Live merch? Just visit amberlive.tv and you can see all the incredible items we have for you. Regular coffee mugs, large coffee mugs, and even magic coffee mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, tote bags, and even beach towels. Y'all, they make great gifts for your friends. I've got mine. Just visit the Amber store at amberlive.tv and order yours today.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Lucy Bell. Lucy Bell's taking a little break, but she'll be back in a week or two with more bitchin' in the kitchen. Do you have any recipe ideas? Or if you want some of her past recipes, go over there to amberlive.tv and you can catch some of her bitchin' in the kitchen recipes. All right. Speaking of cooking, she's used maple syrup in some of her recipes. We know that. And some of her drink recipes as well. I wonder where she got a maple syrup. I wonder if it was from Ray Lewis. Hey, welcome, Ray, to the show. Hi there.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going fine. So, Ray, you look like a native Vermonter there. You do maple syrup. Do I have you pegged pretty good there?
I am not a native. No.
What?
Nope.
Tell me your story. Well, so then why are you in Vermont making maple syrup?
I can't tell you the whole story. What's that?
Well, tell me then, why are you in Vermont making maple syrup?
Oh, well, just the road that I ended up on, truthfully. I went to school at UVM for forestry and ended up being the maple syrup guy.
Okay, so you're from Long Island and you came to UVM. Right. Did you just stay in Vermont after you graduated?
I worked for the Forest Service in Montana for a while and did a few jobs like that, and then realized I wanted to be back in Vermont. So that's where I came and stayed.
Very good, wise decision. Did you get into maple right away, or what eased you into the maple business?
A lot of it, we were actually mostly into organic vegetable farming when we started. And we bought our farm about 25 years ago here in Walden. And once we were here, we realized that our biggest resource was maple. And so we've been working, developing that ever since.
So you say developing, what does that mean?
Well, it's a lot of infrastructure to make maple syrup and a lot of investment. So we started really small, just traditionally with buckets and staying up all boiling. And now, we've had as many as 10,000 taps, which used to be big, but is not really that big anymore. but there's just a lot of work that goes into maintaining the forests and putting up the lines and actually making the syrup and all of that. So that's the job.
So originally, though, you went to, I believe you took some of your product back to New York to sell, didn't you?
I did, yeah. We were selling at Fairway markets in New York for quite a while, and now we have distribution in New York, mostly through restaurants, but we do also sell it in well.
Oh, we're doing some cutting out there. It is, at least for me, I'm getting a little cut out there. No, that's fine. It's modern technology. So, but you do a lot of online business, right?
Yeah, we do. We sell the vast majority of our syrup within Vermont through stores, mostly in Vermont, but we do have a pretty robust online business as well. We ship all over the world.
So what's special about the Square Deal maple syrup?
Well, we believe in science, and science is behind most of the decisions that we make, but we also believe magic of maple and harvesting the earth energy and getting all the special goodness into our syrup. And that's pretty much it. We just really try to be present to make the best maple products that we can.
Do you hug your trees? Do you give them some love?
Often, yes.
So, but is it organic? Is that
yeah, we are.
It's organic.
We are certified organic, which mainly means that we're not introducing any foreign substances either into our syrup. There's strict procedures and regulations around any kind of chemicals that could be used, or the type of processing, but also forest management as well, and wildlife management, making sure that we're making decisions that are good for the product, but also good for the forest resource and all the creatures that live in the forest as well.
So how was this year maple business wise?
Well, the last couple of years have been really hard because of the pandemic. Honestly, sugaring season is a very social time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the only time that I'm social. So that part was really hard, not really having the people around us that we love and come and have been such a big part of our season. So that's been the most difficult part. This year, the production wasn't really that great. The weather didn't really cooperate, but I had fun. Nobody got hurt, nothing broke, so we take the small victories and we run with them.
So is it going to be hoarding? Are people going to be going out to the taps and filling up plastic bags with maple syrup? Or is there enough for everybody?
I think people that know where to get their good syrup from are trying to get the syrup that they need, because people get a little nervous. It's not quite the toilet paper or the gas situation, but we definitely get people calling us and want to be assured that there's going to be enough for them to make it through the year.
So do you do anything else other than syrup? Do you produce anything else?
Well, we have other maple products. We make maple sugar, and that's our other big thing. We do maple sugar. We do a rye whiskey barrel aged maple syrup.
Ooh.
And we're also doing a chaga infused maple syrup. I don't know if you're familiar with that,
what's that?
That's one of our newer products. Chaga is a tree fungus. It grows on dead and dying birch trees, and it's a traditional medicine across the northern hemisphere. And it has a lot of antioxidant properties, and I actually think it might have the most antioxidant properties of any natural substance. And it's combined with maple, it's pretty great. It's a special substance. So we do that, and some different things throughout the year. And then we also have some cows, which are mostly for my own amusement. I love cows. And that's pretty much it. We used to do a lot of different things. We've had pigs. We do have bees. We used to have a very big garden, but, really just try to focus on the maple. That's the main thing. I really want to do a good job. And to do that, I have to be present and thinking about that a lot. So
someone posted a question about smoked maple syrup. Is that a possibility of smoky flavored maple syrup?
I have smoked wild maple syrup, but I don't make smoked maple syrup. Okay. I'm not really sure that you can do that organically or not, because you would be putting smoked syrup, but I don't really know about that. I have tried it, and it's pretty tasty. That I like.
I bet. I bet. Put that on bacon or ham.
Yeah.
Eat that up. All right. Our good friend Josh says he worked at the fair at the Sugar House, giving out maple candy, and so that's what he likes to do at the fairs. So.
My daughter
and then Two Toads, our friend Two Toads lives in Montana, and she said her dad was in the Forest Service in Montana as well.
That's very cool.
Small world.
Very cool. I was going to say my daughter has worked at the Caledonia County Fair at the Maple Sugar House making maple creamies for years, and you get some real maple fans in there. People come in for the maple creamies with both hands. They really love them.
So what's new? What's going to be the next step in maple? Do you see anything new? Or are you trying anything new with maple?
I think like one of the biggest things right now is just the technology that we have access to right now. In the same way that we have Zoom and, it's in line, it's the same for maple. We have technology now to know what's going on in our woods and in our sugar house during the season from our phones. And it is pretty amazing. I work mostly alone, and having that technology has really allowed me to, cover a lot more ground and do a better job and be more present in what I'm doing. So I think there's going to be a lot of big changes there. I think there's also a lot of commodification of syrup. There's a lot of very big sugar makers right now, 100,000, 200,000 taps. And so I think there's going to be a real awakening, people coming to know the flavor of syrup and being able to differentiate between like the commodity syrup and craft produced syrup, the smaller syrups, So I think that's something that's happening right now.
Well, that's great, Ray. Thank you so much. Is your syrup available over on this side of the state anywhere?
Oh, yeah. We sell at City Market in Burlington at both of the stores. Let's see. We sell at all of the Healthy Living stores down there. We sell at the Commodities Natural Market in Winooski, and as well as in Doe, and a number of other places. Those are the places at Hunger Mountain Co-op in Montpelier. So quite a few places.
All right. Well, people can order online, squaredealfarm.org. Well, thank you so much, Ray. So stay right there. We're going to bring Elliott back in.
Yeah.
And now we're going to do a segment called Ask Away. So, Elliott, you've been sitting there listening to Ray. Do you have any questions for Ray or myself?
Actually, I do for Ray. I watched a documentary on Netflix where they were talking about how people like you who are crafters, who are in maple syrup making, and these big conglomerates, and how they are like, there is almost like a organized crime-ish type element trying to come in and like water down maple syrup and pass lower grade maple syrup, trying to squeeze out farmers like you. What are your thoughts about that? Like, because you're in it, you've been in it for years, like this is your livelihood. And so,
Yeah.
how are the local maple farmers, those who this is their life, are they pushing back against some of these other companies trying to come in? And how do you kind of keep the quality and making people aware of the quality?
Yeah. Well, I'll speak to the last point. I think that the best way is to actually buy it from a guy or a woman, somebody you can actually talk to that made it. As far as the big conglomerate, it's actually very interesting. The Federation in Quebec, and it's a cooperative. And it was a group of farmers that started as a result, to my understanding, of the Quebec separatist movement. They had been cut off by the federal government and decided to use the resource that they have to gain power. And they've built it into an amazing organization that supports its members, and the vast majority of people that are supportive. But as always, there's pushback to any kind of cooperative organization. But I think that, really the best way to know what you're getting is to not buy it at a mega chain, but buy it from a person. And there's lots of good syrup. I taste all syrup all the time, and I am happy to talk about it.
So Ray, do you have a question for Elliott or myself?
I do. I have two questions for Elliott. I'd like to know when his book is coming out, because I'd like to read it. And secondly, like so many other people, I want to know what we do to help the voter suppression situation in Georgia. And you're on the ground there. Like, what is the best way to reach out and be helpful at ground zero for our democracy?
It's interesting. The book part first, I have been putting that off for so long. So I'm glad that you are motivating me to actually take what I have been given, sort of as a task, or I guess a goal, and actually to work on it. So I will work on it, and I will let you know. I'm actually on your website about to order some maple syrup, just so
Awesome.
you know. So if you get an order from Atlanta, it's me.
I get my 10% on that.
I got you. And so I think, the crazy thing is, and I tell people, I said, the way that Georgia is structured as a state, we have so many counties, and the way it was set up, I guess probably in the early 1800s, was to ensure that those cities didn't have more control than the farmland, what would then be perceived as the farmland.
Yeah.
And so they have the votes, and they just have the votes. I think right now, one of the biggest ways is to support organizations that are going to eventually have to sue in order to get these laws overturned. I would also say put pressure on the federal government to do what should have been done when the Voting Rights Act expired, and we acted like, oh, it's kumbaya and it'll never happen again. Just pressure. Like they have to be pressured to pass it. But I would say, ACLU has been really active. Stacey Abrams' organization, I can't believe I forgot the name.
Fair
really
Fight.
quickly. Fair Fight.
Yeah,
they have been amazing.
Yeah.
And so to support them as well, because in Georgia, it's the from the top to the bottom, literally from the governor, every statewide elected official up until this year with the 2 Senate seats, they're all Republican. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing, but it's that their political ideology is oftentimes pushed from people outside the state. And so sometimes the decisions that are made are not even really local, what's best for us locally, but it has a national spin to it. And so that's problematic. Yeah. But I think it's going to take lawsuits, to be honest with you. They're not going to do it voluntarily.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Great questions to each other. I love that, because you came up with things that I didn't think of, and that's great. And it's obvious you two have a connection there. You're going to order syrup. You're going to buy his book. I love it. Thank you guys so much. Have a beautiful evening, and I appreciate you being a part of this show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my! Last week we had an international drag queen telling about her new show that she's debuting next week, and this week we have talk about Jim Crow laws and maple syrup. It's Amber Live, and what could possibly top any of this discussion but another visit from Rocco Zamboni? Rocco,
Hey, Amber, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Rocco. Have you been able to watch any of the show tonight?
I actually watched the entire show tonight. You believe it? Those little freaks went to bed early.
Oh, your
Called
nephews and
melatonin,
nieces?
people, in case you're wondering. Melatonin. Works wonders. I was trying to invent, Rocco Zamboni's own personal brand of baby chloroform, but I couldn't get it past the production people and stuff. But melatonin's working.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, what'd you think of our guests tonight?
I thought it was fantastic. I love learning more about, like you. I don't know a lot about Jim Crow laws. It's like I hear about it all the time. In my ignorance, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a thing. I know it's a thing. So it's nice to learn about that. And he was an awesome guest. Great guy. Ray, I'm just kidding. Ray Lewis is one of my oldest friends. I've known this guy since like third grade and stuff. And the fact that he's now making syrup, and let me tell you, without bias, this is 100% true. It is the best maple syrup I've ever had. No,
Well, you
doubt.
wallpapered your back wall with it, I see.
Damn right. I'm serious. It's really the best. And yeah, I do know everyone on Long Island. What can I say? I get around.
Two Tones wants to know where she can buy or they can buy some of that baby chloroform.
I'm kind of working on the black market sort of thing right now, so it'll be out there soon. Whether it's like FDA approved, does that matter? No. Who the hell are they? If it knocks a kid out, bingo, you get a night off.
They got other things on their mind.
Yeah.
So Rocco, what got anything to talk about this week?
Well, I was thinking, now that we're talking about farming and stuff, I was like, you know what? I might make myself a garden now that I'm out on the island. I got some land. Maybe I'll dig a garden, plant some tomatoes and zucchinis and stuff. So I did a little researching, and I was a little surprised to find out, excuse me, I had a beard. A little surprised to find out that my local hardware store sells hose. I'm like, what? Hose? I can go to the hardware store to get a hoe? I'm in. So I go down over there and I see an assortment of hose hanging on the wall. I'm like, is this by the hour or what? Do I got to buy it and bring it home and keep it? That's fine. So I went and I bought myself this hoe. All right. It's a black hoe. And the thing is, it does the work so well. It gets into the ground and it digs it up and it makes your garden nice. And I thought about, they had a white hoe, and I thought about getting the white hoe, but they get a little too dirty for my likings, you know what I'm saying? And if you hit a pipe with the hoe, it's cracked. So you got a cracked hoe on a pipe. I was going to get a red hoe. They had red hose, but you know what? They don't really touch the ground very well. They won't break the surface because they respect the land too much. So I went with the black hoe. So I'm thinking of starting my own Rocco Zamboni hoe leasing business. You want a hoe? Come to me. All right? I'll lease it for an hour, for an afternoon, for a special night of gardening. You know what I'm saying? Sow your seeds. It'll be fun. So along with the nut weasel, I'm going to do the hoe thing.
Rocco's hose.
Rocco's hose.
Maybe we can get Jack to write you a jingle for your Rocco's hose.
I'm sure he would come up with something pretty weird. But
So,
yeah, that's my thing. I don't know. I'm just looking for ways to make some money. You know what I'm saying?
Always looking for some coin. So what would you do with the tomatoes and the zucchini that you grow?
Well, I would eat some of it, of course. But the first thing Russell said when I said I was planting a garden, he says, oh, I want some so I could do some canning. This man is always thinking about somebody's can, you know? I'm telling you. So I'll give him some tomatoes and stuff he could shove in a can. If that makes him happy, I'm all for it.
That sounds great. So, anything else going on in your world, Rocco?
Oh, God, I don't even know. Right now, it's all about, reading poems to nurses, hoeing, trying to get some nurses to check out the hose, get a little endorsement. Why not? Hey, I approve of this hoe. It will do the job.
All right. Well, good luck on that, Rocco, and we look forward to that. We could sell some in the Amber Live merch store.
That'd be fantastic, Oh, and by the way, one thing Ray didn't say, when you get his syrup, and I recommend you all go and buy his syrup, mix it with some bourbon or whiskey or something. It is so good. I've had it fresh off the tap and did that. It was amazing. So that's just my recommendation. Maybe Lucy Bell could do something with the syrup and the booze, bitching in the kitchen and stuff.
Well, she does like to drink, so maybe we can work that out.
I figured she does.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Rocco. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, Rocco. Hey, Jack, come on in.
Hi, here I am.
Oh, my goodness. What a great show.
Yeah. That's some great guests tonight.
Were you were roller skating this week, weren't you?
I was roller skating. I managed to stay up.
Very good. We're going to have to get some filming of you roller skating.
I know. If anybody wants to help support the show, then they can give us money so that we can afford a GoPro to strap on my head.
Oh, yeah. That's what we need. That's what we need. So how was the comments tonight? What did we have?
We had a few good ones. Let's go back to that image where we have what looks like Prince Harry on a football field. And I'm calling it football because it's Prince Harry, and why would he run onto an American football field?
Yes.
But we have our friend Steve who said, "It's all for you, Megan. It's all for you." And Kim said, "Did you see how big I am?" Yes.
Yeah, it's real.
And I got one more for you. Our friend Gary who said, "It worked. I got me a new boyfriend. He just caught me."
Yeah, if you go slow enough, they'll catch you. They'll catch you.
Unless he's all greased up like when Philadelphia won the Super Bowl. Those poles coated in Crisco.
Oh, and Kevin Walsh just added another one in there.
What do we got here? Grab the pigskin.
That's what those kids are calling it these days.
They call it grabbing the pigskin. Yes. I don't know. That's why I roller skate. I don't have that type of terminology in my world.
You haven't been grabbing the pigskin.
I have not been grabbing the pigskin.
All right. Russell.
Hello.
So join us after Rocco's.
Oh my God! We may have to put a filter on him soon.
You might have to screen some of that material before it hits the airwaves live. That
was your job, Jack.
Yeah,
I'm not the producer on this show.
All right, so Russell, what great show tonight! Thank you so much.
Thank you, fantastic guests. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
They worked out very well. So fascinating. So I enjoyed it. I hope everyone else did.
Oh, I think so too. So Russell, got anything for next week?
Next week is a big mystery right now. So we will
you're
let
teasing
you know
me
as soon as we do. I know how you love to be teased, Amber.
Yes. So anyone watching the show, if you know of any guests, you've seen the wide range of guests we've had on the show. If you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear them. So send them in to amberlemay@gmail.com, and we'll do what we can. All right, Jack, Russell, have a good week. See you probably Wednesday.
Thank you too.
For Amber Chat.
Good night, everyone.
8:15. Yes. All right. So thank you so much for watching tonight. if you missed any part of the show, you can go to amberlive.tv and watch the reruns. Yes, all the past shows are on there. And it's fun to and Russell's done a great job of clipping different guests there. So go over there and watch some of that, and buy some Amber merch while you're there too. All right. So have a great week. The weather's going to be great here in Vermont. I hope it's going to be great where you are. So we'll see you next week, Sunday night, 8 o'clock, Amber Live. I'm going to be there. Hope you will too.
Hey, Shug, did you know that it's spring?
Yes, the trees will soon have leaves. Hey, I know a poem all about it.
A poem? Ew!
Spring has sprung, the grass has riz.
Amber should get out of showbiz!